Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're going to be talking about one of the largest investments in Southern Dallas in generations. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team. And the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
When I arrived in Dallas in 1992, I can tell you that I was told that there was going to be investment in South Dallas for a long, long time. And politicians and business people have paid lip service to that. But now some people have gotten together to make a big difference. And we're going to start with Peter Brodsky. He is the developer and principal of Reimagine RedBird. He's joined by Chris Jones, the EVP of Texas Security Bank, Scott Lynn, founder and principal of Caché Realty Capital, and finally, Bill Lowe, president and CEO of Texas Brand Bank. Guys, thanks for coming. This is such an exciting project.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Peter, let's begin with you. You've been thinking about this for a while. Tell us about the project.
Well, Redbird Mall has a long history in Southern Dallas. It was the only covered mall in the southern half of the city. It was a very high quality environment. And it was really a point of pride in the community. After about 25 years, it opened in 74. After about 25 years, it began to decline. And it sat there really since the late 90s as an asset that's very important to the community, but that was clearly on the decline. I bought it in 2015, and the basic idea was that Southern Dallas is very misunderstood. And there's a lot of reasons how it came to be misunderstood, but the bottom line is it is viewed by most people in North Dallas, most investors, most real estate developers, as an area of town that is uniquely and uniformly poor and uniformly dangerous. And that's simply not true. It's a 200 square mile area of the city. It's bigger than all of Atlanta. And it's got large swaths of middle-class communities, but really no quality amenities. In all of Southern Dallas, until we opened one, there was not a single Starbucks. I don't think you can name another top 10 city in this country that has a 200 square mile area with no Starbucks. There's a lack of offices, a lack of medical, a lack of high quality apartments, a lack of entertainment. And I looked at it and said, there's a supply-demand imbalance, and the supply-demand imbalance is caused by the fact that people have a fundamental misunderstanding about the area. And so what we're trying to do is bring the mall back to the status that it had before and the quality that it had before. But of course, it has to be updated for today's today's needs. And not a lot of people shopping in big boxes today. And so we're having to be creative about repurposing the buildings. But the spirit of Redbird is intending to be a high quality area that shows respect to the people who live in the area by providing them the amenities that they want and need, and that everybody wants and needs.
And this is an enormous investment. We've got an overview video. Let's go ahead and roll that now. So incredibly impressive. Let's talk to Chris Jones now. Chris, tell us about your interest in the project and how you got involved.
Well, we were attracted to this because it truly is a game changer for our city and for Southern Dallas. And when we started hearing about Peter's commitment, number one, to the project, and his vision for what he wanted to create and what he wanted to bring into the old mall property, we were just fascinated by it. And it's not a typical, if from the standpoint of bank underwriting, it took a little bit more creativity and really getting behind Peter's entrepreneurial vision of it to get that underwritten and approved. But we do think that it is a game changer for the city and could really shift the center of gravity.
Absolutely. Scott, let's get you involved. Money follows money. I mean, this vision that Peter has will be followed by more money. Am I right?
Exactly right. I've been involved with Peter on the project for about 4 years now, since 2017. And when Peter came to see me, I was immediately impressed with two things. First, he was not necessarily a real estate developer, but a very successful businessman. And secondly, he wasn't from Dallas. And so I decided to erase the board and listen to a fresh approach of the pitch and the story on Redbird. I'm from Dallas. I grew up here. I remember when Redbird opened. Okay. I remember when it was vibrant. And I also am an investor in Southern Dallas County, in some office buildings and other centers. And so when Peter was able to show me the data, I was like, this should be a no-brainer. And when he showed up with the first tenant, which was Starbucks, I said, that's a financeable deal. Somebody's going to want to finance that. So we've been really dealing with the project almost like a big Lego set, financing each block at a time. And I'm the matchmaker in this group. I matched up these two bankers, and then I matched these two bankers up with Peter to provide a loan to renovate now what is the mall section of the property, where the mall's being completely renovated to accommodate, of all things, a big office tenant that's going to employ a lot of people down there.
Bill, do you think that a lot of smart business people and developers will be kicking themselves that they didn't think of this first?
Absolutely. You know, as you know, there's a tremendous amount of misinformation out there about Southern Dallas, and particularly about banks' willingness to finance developments in Southern Dallas. Our small bank has been very active. We have a branch in Southern Dallas. We've invested a significant amount of loans there. I know Chris's bank has done as well. And I'm very familiar with Redbird. Back in my young career, when I had all black hair, we actually financed 2 or 3 businesses that were in the Redbird Mall. This goes to the 70s and early 80s. But I particularly want to thank Scott for introducing this deal to us. I am very appreciative of Chris and Texas Security for bringing us in on this project. And most of all, I would like to compliment Peter on both his courage and foresight for doing this. As you said earlier, you've been waiting since 92 for Southern Dallas. I've been here since 61 waiting for Southern Dallas. And this is the first time it's really, really happened. And again, Peter's done it, and the three of us have had a little bit to help along with it. And we actually were one of the bidders on the Starbucks deal originally. Didn't win. This is okay. But we just couldn't be more excited. And I think maybe someone said, Peter, perhaps this is a game changer for South Dallas, because as you said, your famous line, money follows money. And it does. And now all of a sudden people are going to see this deal, that deal. For example, we have committed and are about to start a 70 lot home development that's about maybe a mile and a half from Redbird in the next 60 days.
Wow. That's great.
Peter, let's get you back involved. We keep growing north all the way to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
This seems very obvious. It's like right under everybody's nose. Why do you think historically it's been so neglected?
Well, unfortunately, I think it really comes down to race. Southern Dallas became the African American part of town. While the original Dallas was south of the Trinity, white people generally moved north. And until the 80s, we had a system of government in Dallas in which individual parts of the city didn't have their own representation. And so you basically had a slate of council members that were elected at large, which meant generally that they were elected by the majority. And the investments in the city went north. There were also some things that, while I can't prove it, seem intentional. For instance, if you look at the LBJ loop, in North Dallas, it's called 635. In Southern Dallas, they named it something different. It's I-20. In North Dallas on 635, there's service roads. And as you exit and you drive along service road, think of all the development that happened along those service roads. When I-20 was built, there wasn't a single exit in the city of Dallas. So you just passed by the entire southern part of the city. They later put in some exits, not enough, no service roads. So there are some structural and systemic things that were done that caused southern Dallas to be underdeveloped. That hasn't happened in a while, but there's a hangover effect, which is that people just got used to the fact that southern Dallas was not a place to invest in. And there became myths about how it was, as I said earlier, uniformly poor. And meanwhile, North Dallas got really well developed. That's come back to hurt Dallas because North Dallas essentially ran out of room. And then where do people go next? Plano. Well, City of Dallas and Dallas County don't get any of those taxes. So now we're in, Collin County, Denton County, heading up towards Oklahoma, and the city of Dallas has missed out on the opportunity to redevelop 200 square miles. And so that's why there's such an interest in it. And I think that's why there's been a reluctance even to look at the data. It just has been accepted conventional wisdom. Don't go south of 30.
Wow. So, Chris, it takes one thing to have vision. It takes another thing to communicate that vision and get other people to believe in it. What was it about Peter's vision that caused you to say, I'm in?
It was really the whole project and the way the tenants that he had attracted, like UT Southwestern, Children's Medical, Parkland, Texas Workforce Commission, Chime, which will be the big office tenant. And you start looking at that and looking at the center of gravity that brings to the area. And that in itself right there is economic revitalization that is going to have a lot of people on that property every single day. Well, then what comes from that? Restaurants, retail, it all follows. And so you could just see those pieces falling in place and the continued development that brings. Housing, Bill talked about the housing development they're doing. There's a 300-unit apartment complex right adjacent to the property that took some of the property off of the Redbird property that now we've got brand new housing there. So those things just continue to build on themselves.
Scott, let's talk about job creation. I know there's a lot of people in Southern Dallas who are getting on a DART train, trying to drive north to work. This improves quality of life. It creates jobs. It creates wealth. Does it not?
No question about it. And it's one of the primary reasons I wanted to get involved in the project with Peter. It's the way that I give back using my skill sets for raising capital, but then focusing on projects where maybe a firm or a competitor may not want to get involved because of their preset biases. So the UT Southwest, the tenants that Peter is attracting, and then whether it's in the mall or the buildings, Starbucks has a training center there. It's all about people living there. There's a hotel site. It's all about bringing people to the corner 67 and 20. And, there's probably going to be a couple of thousand people working there very, very, very soon. And I don't think there's been a couple of thousand people at Redbird for 20 years, at any given time.
Yeah. Bill, let's talk about housing. This improves everything, doesn't it?
Sure, it does. One point I wanted to make, and Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, but the portion that we're discussing here is essentially the center of the mall or the endpoint. And the major tenant you've attracted is Chime. Did I understand that Chime is planning to have like 1,000 jobs at that center?
They already have 1,000 jobs at the center.
Okay.
Of course, they've been working from home during
Sure.
the pandemic, and
Right.
they're now expanding. They should have about 1,600.
So 1,600 jobs in this one location, which is, a huge thing. And you don't read about this. Every time Dallas attracts any company that's got 500 jobs or 200 jobs, it's on the front page of the Dallas News. And here's the deal in South Dallas with 1,600 jobs put together. I think that's just incredible. To your point, Jeff, housing, it's always been the question in my mind, does the housing come first and the people come to get for jobs, or does the jobs come first and the people come housing? I don't know the answer to that. But we're, and I know Chris is too, a pretty serious developer of housing, both lots and homes. And so we're real excited about our new project going in down there. And again, this will be 70, low to mid price homes that, again, will be a big boon to the neighborhood, because housing, you notice on anywhere there's a restaurant, then all of a sudden there's a bunch of restaurants in a row. And I think anytime anybody does a housing development, then you start to find more housing developments going around. So we're excited and hopeful that works out that way.
Can I jump in for one
Please,
sec?
please.
The thing, you're right that there is a chicken and egg problem with housing versus amenities. But the thing that is great about this area, and that I want to emphasize, is that there's already housing. There's already people living in this community. And unlike a lot of other developments in Southern Dallas, we're not trying to attract people from North Dallas to come in, eat and leave, or come in and build some expensive condo and displace people. We're trying to serve the community that's there, that wants these amenities, can afford these amenities, but has to drive long distances. So the additional housing is fantastic because it's going to increase the density. But there's a market there already that just is screaming to be served. Sure. And that's why I think we're able to solve the chicken and egg problem, because the houses are there already.
So we only have a few minutes left. I'd like to just go down the line, starting with you, Peter, and final thoughts. What do you want to leave the audience with?
I would just encourage everyone to put aside what you've been told about that area of the city, and have an open mind about what's possible there, who lives there. And it's been so otherized. Everyone thinks it's so far away. It's right in our backyard from North Dallas, and you got 40% of the population of the city living in this part of town. It would be a great venture, a business venture, to go and serve the commercial needs of the people who are living there. It's virgin territory from an amenities perspective.
Chris?
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think there's no end to the opportunity in this part of our city. And I think it has been overlooked and underserved. And I think this gives us a great opportunity to really show what can be done.
Scott?
My dad used to tell me, if you look, you'll find. And we had to look pretty hard to find capital providers to go down there and help Peter with this project. But we've been able to accomplish that by working pretty hard at it and having a good story to tell that's very validated. And I just look forward to being involved and helping Peter, bring the whole vision to a reality.
Again, and I kind of echo what Chris said. Banks today are looking to make loans. That's the biggest challenge we face. And and I know Texas Security, are open for business to make loans. And we would encourage folks from all over the city, but particularly those in the southern sector, give us a call. I mean, we're ready to do business right now. Give us a call, come see us, go on the internet, whatever it is, and let us help, because this is what we're trying to do. And I have one more question that may or may not be on point, and I'll ask for Peter. My experience dealing with 40 years with developers is that every developer, whatever project they're working on, they're also thinking about the next one. What's next?
This is the only commercial real estate development I will ever do.
Fair enough. Understandable.
This is a passion project. And by the way, this could go on for years.
Sure.
I mean, we've got 90 acres. So it's a very personal investment. I've invested a lot of my own money in it. And so what's next is Redbird.
The right answer. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to predict that when they write the history books, there will be a before and after at this mark right here. Congratulations on your courage, and gentlemen, thank you for being on the show. We're gonna end with the website. It's redbird-dallas.com. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.